So are you enjoying yourselves thus far?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I know that I am. I know that I'm just grateful for everyone that's here. And when I think about all of the knowledge and the experts that are right here in our community that we can tap into. You know, someone said that knowledge is power, but I don't say that. I say applied knowledge is power. So I'm excited that we're taking notes and that we're getting the information and we're asking questions, because that's really how we're going to grow into our destiny. The next presenter that's going to come up, she's from the real estate industry, and she's going to share with you Thompson Real Estate Consulting. She's going to share with you information on real estate, investing, financing. And so I don't know about you, but I always need financing tips. And so she's going to come forward. Miss Thompson.
Right here.
There she is. Yes. I don't want to mess up her first name again, but she was like one of the first people that were here when I walked in, her beautiful smiling face, and she has on my favorite color. So I was absolutely drawn to her. So please share with the community today what you have on your heart to share with us. And thank
absolutely.
you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about how I got to this particular place to be here in front of you, talking about real estate and credit specifically, but we do offer all kinds of different financial services. So I'm a person who has always believed that education is our civil rights. Like, it's the issue that's going on right now. This is how you get equity. This is how you have access. This is how you move forth in the community. So with that in mind, I actually became a public school educator right after college. I went to NYU Tisch School of the Arts. And through that, yay, awesome. Through that work, though, and I'll talk a little bit about this, is I've always believed in having a diversified income portfolio. So I wasn't just a teacher in the classroom. I also was a consultant, consulting with lots of different people on curriculum, data development, et cetera, because I was able to bring up such a body of work. About 5 years ago, I retired from the classroom and started a full-fledged consulting business. That business really just started off helping K-12 districts, nonprofits, and charter schools across the country with their blended learning and some of the data. I'm not going to go into all of that, but that's what brought me across the country. But because I'm always thinking about how can I empower people, what are the things that are important to them, of course, money is super important to lots of people. And how do you have the correct financial education to be successful in this world? That is something that's completely missing in our educational system, period. And most of us probably got our first job, and that might have been the first time we ever heard about having a checking account. We might have been saddled with a lot of student loan debt because we believed that if we went to college, we would make the American dream and we'd be able to live the life that we could live. But as most of you know who have student loans, you're thinking, my God, it might take me 30, 40, or 50 years to actually finish paying for that. So I just decided, all right, let me start learning this information, and what can I do to really help other people along this way? So when I did that 5 years ago, and I started this business, this is 5 years later, I would say I have like 10 times my income. Not because of anything amazing, but because I really understood, how do I use money? How do I make my money work for me? So, and along those lines, does anyone know what's the best and fastest, most sustainable way to build wealth in this country? I mean, there are wrong answers, but you can still call them out.
Keeping money under your mattress?
Keeping money under your mattress, maybe. Okay, potentially. Anyone else want to take a gander?
Investing?
Yeah, investing. That's what you're going to say. Compound interest. Okay. So definitely investment is a major strategy to build wealth in this country. The other one, which a lot of folks don't talk about, is entrepreneurship. So that's another way to build money. Do you notice what I did not say is a good way to build money?
The bank.
Savings.
True. Okay, do we all have jobs?
Work.
Okay, so did I ever say that income and salary is the best way to make money from one source? No, I mean, even if you have a six-figure salary, depending on where you live, you could be living paycheck to paycheck, right? And that is not necessarily a way to build wealth. All right, so let me talk a little bit about investing and a little bit around, I'm not really going to talk a lot about entrepreneurship because I'm supposed to specifically talk about finances, so I'll just stick there. So when you think about investing, there are lots of different ways that you can invest in this country. Anyone want to throw out anything?
Stock market?
Stocks.
Real estate.
Real estate. Anything else?
Gold. Yeah.
Gold, okay, so you can do commodities trading, that's right. Okay, so some other ideas that you could start thinking about is something that I've also added to my portfolio is I invest in businesses. So becoming a venture capitalist is another way to invest and start thinking about different ways to build your wealth. So today I'm really going to start talking about how we're going to use real estate as our key vehicle for our investment strategy. In order to know that, and I mentioned this a little bit before, everything in life should be diversified. I mean, we heard lots of people talk about, hey, if you want to live a healthy lifestyle, you don't just eat one thing, right? You have to have multiple strategies really in terms of thinking about your health. The same thing is true for your financial health and your financial well-being. Everything should be diversified. I mentioned that I've had diverse streams of income, right? I've mentioned that I own and invest in diverse businesses. Obviously, in the stock market, I do play stocks, so I have different types of investments in my stocks. I use my stock investment, to be quite frank with you, as my long-term strategy. I do not use it as my short-term high-yield gains because I'm not a person who watches the stock market every day. That's a pretty heavy investment and super risky, but some people can obviously do that if they would like. Okay, but my real estate investment strategy. I was actually just interviewed by a pretty well-known real estate platform. And they said, what's your main strategy that you use to acquire real estate and to make money off of real estate? And when I broke it all down, they said, wow, you're the only person that we've talked to who says that you have a diversified real estate investment portfolio. So what does that mean? That means I hold properties that I flip, right? So I buy them cheap, I hire a contractor to come in, do some work, and then I sell it at a profit. I have properties where I invest in the properties and I hold them, and I usually just keep them for a rental income. So just steady rental that's always going to be coming that allows me to know that I have another source of income. I usually like to, and we can talk about this if you would like, how much money overage over my mortgage do I like to make. I do hold mortgages. I know this is a little bit different than if you guys listen to Susie Orban, she'll tell you buy everything cash. But if you're smart about the way that you think through your money and how you're holding it, it's actually not, it's not a terrible strategy to hold mortgages and to hold some loans, as long as you have a clear strategy as how you're going to exit from that before 30 years out, right? Because in 30 years with interest, you've actually paid a whole lot more money than necessarily that particular property was worth. So you just want to make sure that you have that strategy together. The other thing that I do is I create real estate investment funds. Anyone familiar with that term?
A little bit.
Or a little bit? All right, does anyone here play the stocks? Everyone should probably put their hands up, because if you have a 401k or 403b, your company is investing your money in the stock market. Be very clear, you should be watching what's going on in the stocks at all points in time, because if you have a regular salary job, most likely your money is going to be affected by what's going on in the stock market. Another reason to just think about it for the long haul. The same thing is true for real estate. So I have a lot of friends who say, hey, Kwamara, I don't really know a lot of stuff that's going on in real estate. I only have like $5,000. Is that enough to put down a down payment? I'm like, maybe, but why don't we actually pool our money together, buy a piece of property, you on a percentage, then when I flip that property, or if you want to go in with me on a rental, then you'll have a steady either dividends or you'll get your percentage back plus a little bit more on your return of investment. So that's basically the idea of a real estate investment fund. So you can either have multiple people who come in together to buy one property, or you have multiple people come in together to buy a string of properties. The other thing that I've done is I help people cash out. So I have a lot of contractor friends who need to be liquid quite a bit, right? They get in, they hold their money, they put it in there, and they're like, hey, I've got another hot property that I need, but I need cash. Kwamara, do you mind taking out a loan on this property for less than its value, but enough for me to make a profit? Can you do that? Yes, I can. The only stipulation I always make is that they either have to have a way to pay me some kind of mortgage payment, or they have they have tenants already there. So I only do it when there's absolutely nothing for me to lose, and I'm just helping somebody else out. And then when that property sells, even if it sells at the appraised value, I stand to make $50,000 to $100,000 more. So I have a very diversified strategy when I come to start thinking about my real estate. So I told you 5 years ago that I started this particular business. I bought my first house then, but I really didn't get heavy into it until the last couple of years. In those last couple of years, I now have a net worth of a few $1 million. And in 6 months, thank you. And in 6 months, just these last 6 months that we were talking about, actually it might be less, November to March, is that 6 months? I've been able to add another $500,000 to my investment strategy and to my net worth, all through just investing and having a diversified, not just one strategy, but a diversified strategy to real estate. This is not to say that you should go out and be thinking about, oh man, let's get all my friends together, we're going to put our money together and this is really going to work out. You really kind of have to trust the folks. You need to make sure a lawyer is involved. There's lots of high contracts that are going on. But I do think that it's really important that you have at least one piece of real estate, even if it's your own personal one, something that you can call your own that helps you build a little bit more wealth. And that's what the country sort of looks at for you to think about your net worth and how you're going to get all the things that you want. So I talked about all the different ways that we can do that. The other thing about diversifying my real estate portfolio is I'm a Jersey girl. I went to school in New York City, but I live in Jersey. I drove out here from New Jersey this morning. The majority of my properties are not necessarily in this area. I look for areas all across the country to start diversifying my portfolio in. So I have a real estate development deal that's going on in Orlando. I just bought a few properties in Miami. I actually fly out next week to look at some properties in New Orleans. And the reason I bring that up is that people start thinking in pigeonholed ways, like, oh man, I can't afford what it's going to take for me to buy my first home here in the New York, New Jersey area. As we know, it's pretty expensive here. And if you don't have the right credit, and we're going to talk about credit in a minute, or if you don't have the right amount of money as your down payment and you can source that correctly, you may feel like this is a defeated purpose. But if you start thinking outside the box, like I've spent quite a bit of time from this, like my family's from the South, I spent a lot of time in the South. That is a great place to start thinking about how can I invest in other types of property and how can I get some things under my belt and how can I start practicing. Does anyone know the statistic that more people are leaving the Northeast and moving to the South than more people are coming back up here to the Northeast? So the South is actually a great time to start investing in because they're going to go through real estate booms. People are moving there. They're going to need housing. If you want to just have your own property, great. If you want to hold a property and rent, awesome. If you want to flip a property, like I'm in the middle of buying a house in Memphis, Tennessee for $10,000, I'm going to just hold it because I already know that in the next 3 years I could sell that house for $100,000. Right? So like sometimes you just have to think outside the box and start thinking about where are the places where I can get the best return on my investment. Do I want to pay cash? Do I want to take out a mortgage? What kind of mortgage? How many payments can I make? What kind of interest rates do I qualify for? Anyone know how you qualify for interest rates? What's the deciding factor on what decides what your interest rate is?
Score?
Your credit. Okay, so now let's talk about why your credit is super, 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 super important. I will not lie to you. Certainly when I was a teenager, I wasn't even thinking about money other than, like, mom and dad, can I have some? But in my 20s, I really did not care too much about credit. It was like, oh man, credit card seems like an awful way to get in debt. I'm not going to get one, da 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 da. I'm not even going to think about it. And then my parents sat me down and were like, what are you doing? Like, you need credit in this world in order to do things. Does everyone know all the things that you need credit for? Just call them out.
Buy a car.
Buy a house, buy a car.
Job.
Travel. Mortgages, everything. The amount that you're going to get from your student loan, like how much is your interest rate going to be? I mean, everything is tied to your credit score. I was working from home one day, and I was watching a judge show. You know, I'm into judge shows, so sorry, guilty pleasure that I have. And one woman was upset because she thought that she had been offered a job contingent upon her background check. And her background check came back, and her credit score was terrible. And they rescinded the offer. And she was asking the judge to, like, compensate her for it. I mean, she lost the case. But the point is, the only thing that stopped her from getting that job was because she did not take care of her credit. Your credit is the most valuable data point that this country has on you. Anyone know, does anyone here have Facebook? And you know all the money that went through Cambridge Analytica and all the money that they're making? This is one way that you can now actually use your data, your credit score, to make money for yourself. So what is your credit score made out of? Do you guys know?
Well, how much money you are lended, how much money you've already used from it, how much money, how long it takes you to pay. My mother worked for TransUnion.
Okay, so yeah,
How
there
much
you go.
money that it takes you, how long it takes you to pay your credit back. If you ever are late on your payments, it all matters.
Great. So here's the actual breakout if you want to write this down. 35% of your credit score is based off of your payment history, so you must pay everything on time. Do not be late, do not be a minute late, do not be a day late. I don't care what anyone says, they're all going to report to all the credit bureaus about it. 30% is the amount owed. So basically, what's your debt to income ratio? So do you have a mortgage that's $500,000 and can you carry that $500,000 mortgage based off your income? Or should you really have a mortgage that's $100,000 based off your income so your debt to income ratio is more in favor? Okay, the length of your credit history. This is super important. If you have a long credit history, it's 15% of your score is based off of the length of your credit history. Whether good or bad, you need to have a long credit history, and that's how good your score can be. If you have a short credit history, you know, that actually was what hinders me. Everyone was like, you would have an 800 had you got your first credit card at age 20 instead of waiting until you were in your late 20s. I would have a perfect score. The only reason I don't is because I don't have enough credit length of my history to get there. Okay, 10% is new credit. So what is the new credit that you just got? A caveat to the new credit is also how many times you get hard inquiry pulls on your credit. All right? So unless, and you can actually tell people, unless you are actually going to give me money, do not do a hard inquiry. Just do a soft inquiry to see what's on my credit score. And if anyone pulls a hard inquiry and then does not give you money, you can actually ask them to rescind it. And they have to, by law, they cannot hold any credit line towards you, which is what a credit inquiry can be, if they don't actually give you the money. Now, if they give you the money, then everything will stand, as is. Okay, and then 10% is the amount of your credit that you actually use. And you want to keep that pretty low. So even though, for example, like if you have a credit card that you can max out at $25,000, let's say, do not hold a $25,000 balance on it. Please pay that off all the time, so then they know that the amount of your debt used is lower. But that's 10%. So your major factors here are payment history, amount owed, and length of credit. So we offer credit restoration services, and I make this really clear because a lot of credit repair places will say, pay this down, do this, do that, and then they ask for your credit line to be removed. You do not want that to happen, because what if you have had that credit card for 20 years? The 20 years of your credit history is now gone if they actually delete it off there. What you want them to do is just zero it out and see if it won't pull up in the report, but you still want it to be considered as part of your credit history. Okay. Does anyone know how you can access your credit score and credit report for free right now?
Credit Karma.
Credit Karma.
CreditWise is another one.
FreeCreditReport.com. Credit Sesame is another.
Sometimes, like my credit card. You to use CreditWise, and every time you go on your credit card, it actually shows you your credit score.
And it'll show you your credit score. Okay. Don't get tripped up though. Yes, those are good health checks to find out where your credit lives. But remember, these are third party, so your credit report there may not be as accurate as you think it is. If you are in the process and you really need some money, like you want to purchase a house, I would say just take the L, pay Equifax, TransUnion, and why am I drawing a blank on the Experian, the $10 or whatever it is, to see what they're actually going to show the bank. Not what you see through the third parties. But that's a good financial health check. The other thing is, under Obama, is a mandated law that every year the companies have to give you your free credit report. So every year you can go to annualcreditreport.com and ask for your credit report from each individual TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. All right, and that will let you know what exactly is going to the bank. What exactly are they seeing? And that's a good way to start disputing anything if you want to do it yourself. We also offer credit restoration services, but if you would like to do it yourself, you can. Okay, I think I might be closing in on time, so I'm just going to sort of wrap up for a little bit. So how can I help? How can myself and my company help? I can help you finance your business and personal needs. I can help you restore your credit. The other thing that's really important, because I think this is about empowerment, is I can help you with additional sources of income. What does that mean? That means you can become an agent for my company, and you can help other people restore their credit. You can help other people invest in real estate. You can help other people start thinking about their personal and business loan strategies. Okay. I can help you, of course, strategize around your financial goals. I am not a certified financial planner, so I'm not going to talk to you about insurance or anything like that, but we can have a one-on-one and talk about, here's where you would like to go, here's my financial goal. Kwamara, what are some ideas that you have? Let's come together. And I'm offering free 15 to 30-minute consultations. I've been telling everyone, I'm very green, so you will not see paperwork. I have a form on my iPad that you can just sign up for, and then I will follow back up with you along those lines. And then if you're just curious, because I don't have a big wig name, so why work with us? So I'm currently in talks with Forbes to be published on this very topic and around how I was able to be a successful entrepreneur. It's like something about how did I go from teaching to this? Okay, how did I become an educator to this work that I'm doing? I've been at the Forbes Under 30, Forbes Under 40. Forbes has recruited me to be there. I've been recruited by many different venture capitalist firms to sit at their different festivals and venture summit. And for our credit restoration business, we are featured on almost every national media outlet across the country. So anyway, the important thing for me is really about empowerment. This is really about education. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. Just feel free to come, sit, chit chat, sign up, and hopefully we can build together.
Contact information?
Oh, okay. My contact information. My first name is spelled Kwamara, Kwamara. If anyone is curious, it's half Hebrew, half Swahili. Last name is Thompson, Thompson. You can reach me at kThompson@techtalksolve.com. That's TECTALKSOLV.com. That's because we talk together and we solve our problems together.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome. What's your name?
My name is Cheyenne Richardson.
What did you learn about Long Island Girl Talk?
What did I learn? I guess self-esteem, really, and I like working with my friends a lot. It was a good experience. So that was good.
What are some things that you learned from the program?
I learned how to sit straight. I learned how to talk into the camera a lot, because before I didn't talk into the camera at all. So that was a good experience. That's mostly it. And I learned how to speak a little bit more, up more, so that was good.
Lastly, what inspired you? How did Long Island Girl Talk inspire you in your life?
It made me a better person, to be honest, because before I was very shy and I was very alone, and I didn't know how to be alone. I was very, sad that I didn't have a lot of friends. I was very, scared, about life and what I was going to do in life. So, it made me a better person. It made me more outwards, made me more, strong. So, and I learned how to walk alone a lot, meaning I don't have a lot of friends, and I'm okay with that. And I'm really ready to go to college, and, I got my mind straight, so that's a good experience too. So that's it.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
You're welcome.
Yes. What's your name?
Cyan Hayes.
What did you like most about Long Island Girl Talk?
Mostly working with my friends and how to use the different equipment behind the camera and not just learn what's in front of the camera, but also what's going on behind the camera.
What were some of the things that you liked learning the most?
How to communicate better and how to work better with my friends. And I enjoy like using the camera and how everybody goes in my privacy.
Lastly, how did the program inspire you in your life?
It inspired me by maybe using this knowledge and being able to help others. And now I have more knowledge. If someone asks me a question about how does the camera work or how does the movie work, I'm able to like describe it and how it exactly works and help others with it.
So thank you for being a part of the program.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, ladies. So what are your names?
Lovely.
Candace.
Carice Gokul. Jada Scott.
Jada Medina.
Alicia Nightingale.
Wonderful. And what did you like most about Long Island Girl Talk? Lovely.
I just like being around everybody and being on camera.
Meeting new people, being on camera, learning how to get out of my comfort zone.
I liked that I was able to learn more about film and TV production and other aspects of life that we would talk about during the show.
I like that we learn like new things every month and to be on the film and things like that.
I liked being able to express myself in front of a camera.
I like being able to practice my speaking and presenting and stuff and working with the cameras and just being on set.
Wonderful. What did you learn the most from the program?
I learned that you have to be yourself. That's really important. And don't be shy. That you can talk about stuff.
I learned how to be more serious and like learn how to like use the camera more.
I learned a lot about TV production and how the camera works, how the lighting works, how you make a set, how the sound works, everything in general like that, and also a lot of life lessons on self-esteem and being the best of you.
I learned a lot about behind the scenes on like TV shows that I never knew before, and like how to like just speak more and just be yourself.
I learned about everything that goes on that isn't in front of the camera that we can't see when we watch TV, and I learned about how much a group of people, how important a group of people working together on a project is.
I learned how it isn't that easy working behind the scenes and stuff, and that in order to do something like that, you would need like a lot of people like these guys that they have good vibes and everything is just amazing.
Thank you. And how did the program inspire you in your life?
It just inspired me because you are really am and you don't have to hold anything back.
It inspired me to work harder and try harder and like it mostly inspired me to like try to achieve more of my goals.
It actually inspired me and it made me become more aware of what I want to do in the future, and it made my dream a lot clearer to me of what it is that I want to pursue. And also interviewing some of the people that we did during the different episodes also inspired me too, and the different things that they said.
And it inspired me because things are like not impossible. Like if you want to own your own fashion line, it is possible. If you want to own your own TV company, it is possible.
It inspired me to make my voice heard in my community, and it inspired me to value my peers and the people around me.
It inspired me to never to let anyone belittle me because I am an African American woman, and
it just inspired me to let my voice be heard and express the way I feel and just give it back.
Thank you, beautiful queens. We've really loved having you in the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.